When I look back at the greatest transformation of my life, it didn't come from something complicated. It came from something simple. It wasn't some grand event or a dramatic turning point. It was a simple morning routine that I decided to do every single day. And I can tell you, that routine shifted everything. See, most people wake up and immediately fall into reaction mode. They grab their phone, check the news, scroll social media, and start comparing themselves before they even leave their bed. And then they wonder why they feel behind, why they feel anxious, why they feel lost. But here's the truth. If you don't take control of your morning will take control of you. And if your morning controls you, your day controls you. But if you win the morning, you win the day. The first thing I learned to do was simple. Start in silence before the noise. I stopped letting the world pour into me the moment I opened my eyes. Instead, I gave myself to gratitude, to prayer, to reflection. Those first moments of the morning are sacred. When you own them, you anchor yourself because the world is loud. But if you don't get still before you enter it, you'll get swept up in the storm of everyone else's agenda. The second shift came when I realized that energy isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. So I moved my body, even just for a few minutes. And it wasn't about becoming a fitness model or running marathons, it was about unlocking energy. Because when you move your body, you wake up your mind. The blood starts flowing, creativity kicks in, and suddenly your day doesn't feel heavy. It feels alive. But I didn't just feed my body, I fed my mind. I stopped letting social media or negative voices be the first input of my day. Instead, I chose wisdom, books, podcasts, writing, affirmations, something that elevated my perspective. And I noticed something powerful. When you feed your mind with strength in the morning, the world's weakness doesn't break. You down as easily. You stop reacting like everyone else because you've already built a fortress inside of you before the battle even began. And then I set intentions. Not just a list of tasks, not just things to check off, but intentions. Who do I want to be today? What kind of energy do I want to carry? What kind of impact do I want to leave? When you live by intention instead of just obligation, your day stops being about survival and starts being about creation. Now, let me be clear. None of this happened overnight. And I didn't need a perfect morning routine. I needed a consistent one. That's where transformation lives. It's not about the one time you did it. It's about what happens when you do it every day, especially on the days you don't feel like it. Because when you repeat something long enough, it stops being an action. It becomes an identity. And that identity begins to shape everything you do. This is why my life transformed. Because I realized that greatness doesn't start with some massive leap. It starts with small, repeatable, intentional actions that compound over time. And there's no place more powerful to begin than the first hour of your day. So my question to you is this: what if the simple change you've been praying for isn't outside of you? What if it's right there in your morning? What if the reason you feel stuck is because you keep starting your day in chaos instead of in clarity? You don't need more hours in the day. You need more power in the hours you already have. And that power begins with the first hour. Decide today that you will own your morning. Decide today that your morning will no longer belong to distractions, but to your destiny. Because when you win the morning, you win the day. And when you stack enough days together, you win your life. When I say win the morning, win the day, I don't mean it as a catchy phrase. I mean it as a principle that will reshape your life if you live by it. Think about it. Every day begins why? The window of opportunity, and how you use that window determines the direction of everything that follows. Most people waste that window. They hit snooze 3 times, they drag themselves out of bed, they stumble into the day with no plan, and then they wonder why life feels like one long cycle of catching up. But if you decide to win your morning, you're no longer reacting, you're leading. The way you begin creates momentum, and momentum is the invisible force that determines whether your day feels heavy or light, whether you're constantly trying to push through or whether you're pulled forward by energy and clarity. If you start your morning in control with discipline and intention, you're not just checking off a box. You're declaring to yourself, see, I run this day doesn't run me. That single decision shifts how you think, how you act, and how you respond. Here's the truth. Winning the morning is not about perfection, it's about priority. It's about saying before the woe. RLD comes knocking before distractions flood in. Before responsibilities start pulling at me, I'm going to set the tone. Because if you don't set the tone, someone else will set it for you. And usually that tone won't lead you to growth, it'll lead you to frustration, anxiety, and wasted time. When you win the morning, you establish order before chaos. You put yourself in the driver's seat before the traffic of life even begins. You build strength on the inside before the outside starts testing you. And here's the beauty. Once you've done that consistently, you don't just win one day, you start stacking victories. And when enough days are won, your life begins to look completely different. That's why the morning is not just about routine, it's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't wait for success to happen, but creates it day by day, starting at sunrise. Because if you can win the morning, you will win the day. And if you win the day enough times, you will win your future. When you wake up, the world is already waiting for you. Messages, notifications, news, responsibilities, all pulling at your attention before you even have a chance to breathe. And most people make the mistake of stepping right into that chaos. They pick up their phone, they scroll, they compare, they absorb everyone else's noise before they've even heard their own voice. That's why they feel overwhelmed before the day has even started. But transformation begins when you choose silence before the noise. Silence isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the most important thing, connecting with yourself, with your faith, with your vision. The quiet moments of the morning are the foundation of clarity, because if you can't command your own attention in silence, you will never command your attention in the noise. Silence builds strength. Silence creates alignment. Silence allows you to step into the world already centered, already grounded, already anchored in who I are and what you stand for. I discovered that when I gave myself just a few minutes of stillness, whether through prayer, meditation, reflection, or gratitude, it changed the way I walked into the day. Instead of reacting to the world, I started leading myself. Instead of being consumed by distraction, I was guided by intention. And that shift alone made the world's noise weaker because I had already found my signal. When you start your day in silence, you teach yourself that your inner world is more powerful than the outer world. You tell yourself that your spirit is stronger than your circumstances, and you build a discipline that carries through the rest of your day. This is the power of silence before the noise. It's not wasted time, it's invested time. It's not about escaping the world, it's about entering it with armor on. Because if you can master the quiet moments, you'll walk into the loud ones unshaken. And when the world tries to pull you in every direction, you'll know which direction is yours. Energy is not something you wait for, it's something you create. Most people wake up tired, dragging themselves through the day, waiting for coffee or waiting for motivation to hit them. But here's the truth. Your body is the ignition switch for your mind. If you want clarity, if you want focus, if you want momentum, you've got to move your body. Because when you move your body, you wake up your mind. It doesn't have to be a 2-hour workout or some extreme routine. It can be a few stretches, push-ups, a walk outside, or a short jog. The point isn't how much you do. The point is that you do something to unlock your energy. Movement sends a signal to your brain that it's time to come alive. Blood flows, oxygen increases, and suddenly the fog that felt so heavy when you woke up begins to clear. You start thinking sharper, acting faster, and carrying yourself with confidence. Think about it. Your body is your vehicle. If you let that vehicle sit still too long, it rusts. If you keep it moving, it stays ready. Most people try to power through life in a body that's not activated, and then they wonder why. Their mind feels sluggish and uninspired. But the truth is, you can't have a sharp mind in a lazy body. Ow. The mind is like soil. Whatever you plant in it, it will grow. If you wake up and the first thing you do is feed it negativity, news, gossip, complaints, comparison, you're planting weeds. And weeds grow fast. They choke out your focus, they drain your energy, and they steal your vision. But if you take the first part of your morning and intentionally feed your mind with strength, wisdom, and inspiration, you plant seeds that produce clarity, confidence, and purpose for the rest of the day. Most people don't even realize how much they're programming themselves by what they consume first thing in the morning. Your phone buzzes, you see bad news, someone's highlight reel, a work problem, and suddenly your spirit is already under attack before you've even stood up straight. But what if instead of letting the world feed you, you fed yourself? What if you started with a book that builds you, a podcast that inspires you, a journal that helps you think deeply, or affirmations that align with your goals? The difference isn't small, the difference is massive. Because here's the truth. Your mind is your most valuable asset. If you don't protect it, everything else falls apart. If your mind is weak, your decisions will be weak. If your mind is strong, you can carry the weight of challenges, setbacks, and opportunities with confidence. And it doesn't take hours. Even 10 minutes of feeding your mind intentionally in the morning can completely shift how you see yourself and how you see the world. When you feed your mind before the world feeds it for you, you're saying, I will choose the narrative of my day. I will choose what enters my spirit before I step into the noise. I will choose growth over garbage. That choice doesn't just protect your focus. It multiplies it. It makes you resilient when negativity tries to find you later in the day because you've already armored your thoughts with something stronger. This is the difference between people who drift through and people who design their life. One lets the world pour into them first. The other pours into themselves first. And if you want to live with power, you cannot afford to let the world write your story before you even pick up the pen. Feed your mind with strength, and the world's weakness won't break you. Feed your mind with vision, and the world's distractions won't blind you. Feed your mind first, and watch how differently you show up when the day begins. Most people wake up and start chasing tasks. They make a to-do list, check emails, run through errands, and think they're being productive. But here's the problem. Tasks without intention don't lead to transformation. You can spend an entire day being busy and end the night feeling empty. Because activity doesn't always equal progress, and movement doesn't always mean growth. What changes your life is not just doing more, it's doing what matters. That's why you can't just set tasks. You have to set intentions. An intention is rent from a task. A task is what you do. An intention is why you do it. A task says I need to make 10 calls. An intention says, I will connect with people today in a way that adds value and builds trust. A task says, I need to work out. An intention says, I will honor my body so I can have energy to fulfill my purpose. Do you see the difference? One is about crossing something off a list. The other is about aligning every action with a bigger vision. When you set intentions, you stop living life on autopilot. You stop being pulled in every direction by whatever seems urgent, and you start directing your energy toward what's truly important. Tasks can drain you, but intentions fuel you. Because when you have a clear intention, even the hard work feels meaningful. Even the little things become part of something greater. That's the reason so many people feel unfulfilled. They're winning the checklist but losing themselves. They're crossing off tasks but forgetting who they want to become. But when you set intentions, you anchor yourself to your identity, not just your activity. You remind yourself that you're not just here to get things done. You're here to create impact, to grow, to serve, to build, to leave a mark. And here's the power. Intentions shape decisions. When you know your intention, you can say no to what doesn't align and yes to what pushes you forward. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter, and you multiply energy on the things that do. So don't just ask, what do I need to do today? Ask, who do I need to be today? What do I want to feel when this day ends? How do I want to show up for myself and others? That's the real morning routine, creating a vision for your day, not just a schedule. Because when you set intentions, your tasks serve your purpose instead of stealing your peace. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Most people look for quick fixes, overnight success, or one big breakthrough. That changes everything. But the truth is, transformation doesn't come from what you do once in a while. It comes from what you do every single day. Consistency is the great multiplier. Small actions, repeated long enough, produce massive results. Think about it. A single workout won't change your body. One day of eating clean won't transform your health. Reading one page won't expand your mind. But do those things consistently, day after day, and suddenly your body changes, your health improves, your mind sharpens, your life shifts. It's not about intensity once in a while. It's about intentionality all the time. Here's why consistency is so powerful. It builds identity. When you do something consistently, it stops being just an action and starts becoming who you are. You're no longer a person trying to exercise. You become a healthy person. You're no longer a person trying to wake up early. You become a disciplined person. That identity then shapes everything else because you act. Ions flow naturally from who you believe yourself to be. The reason most people quit before they see results is because they underestimate the power of small, repeated steps. They want instant gratification, and when they don't see it, they give up. But success is never instant. It's stacked. Every day you show up, you're stacking bricks. And one day, without even realizing it, you look up and see a wall of progress standing tall in front of you. Consistency also creates trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your confidence. Every time you break a promise, you weaken it. That's why some people doubt themselves so much. They've built a track record of inconsistency. But when you practice consistency, even in the smallest things, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. That's where real confidence comes from. Self-trust. So don't despise the small actions. Don't overlook the little habits. They may not look like much today, but done consistently, they hold the power to transform your entire life. Transformation isn't loud, it's quiet, it doesn't happen in one big leap. It happens in small steps taken faithfully. And when you commit to consistency, you stop wishing for change and start living in it. Because at the end of the day, talent may open doors, opportunity may give you a chance, but only consistency will carry you across the finish line. And if you can stay consistent, you can become unstoppable. When I look back at how this simple morning routine transformed my life, it wasn't because it was complicated or impressive. It was because it was consistent. I chose to win the morning so I could win the day. I chose silence before the noise so I could walk into the world anchored instead of anxious. I chose to move my body because I knew it would wake up my mind. I chose to feed my mind before the world could fill it with distractions. I chose to set intentions instead of just chasing tasks. And I chose to do it Rye Day, because consistency is what creates real transformation. None of these steps are impossible. None of them require more talent, more money, or more luck. They only require a decision that your mornings will no longer be wasted, a decision that your first hour will belong to your purpose, not your problems. And when you make that decision, you stop drifting through life and start directing it. The truth is, your life doesn't change when the clock strikes midnight. Your life changes when you choose to own your morning. Because when you win the morning, you win the day. And when you start stacking enough days together, you create a momentum that no setback can stop, no distraction can derail, no obstacle can destroy. So I'll leave you with this. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait for the perfect time. Start tomorrow. Be disciplined to do it again the next day. Because it's not what you do once, it's what you do daily that rewrites your future. Your morning is your foundation. Build it strong, build it with purpose, and watch how the rest of your life begins to transform.